So, welcome on board. Happy to have you here. My name is Lars Elden. I'm your captain on this flight down to Kefalonia. And with me today, I'm lucky to have my skilled colleague, First Officer Amber Visser. They'll get us safely down to Greece with a full house of tourists going there on vacation. And we're just sitting here preparing our flight. Right now we have entered the route. We've checked the technical status of the aircraft. And we are briefing each other on how we're going to operate. And on the way down, Amber here is going to do the flying and I'll be the pilot monitoring. And then we'll change before we go back home. Have a nice flight.
Hi, good morning. My name is Amber. Like Lars said, I'm the first officer today and I will be flying you down to Kefalonia. Our slot today is not bad at all. It's only 10 minutes after our planned departure time. But that gives some extra pressure to make sure that we make it. Because if you don't make your slot these days, you might have huge delays afterwards. So definitely going to make that one today.
So, first of all, Amber, before 80 knots, if we decide to abort, we'll stop for any abnormalities. And from 80 knots and to V1 will stop for engine fire, engine failure, predicted wind shear warning, or airplane unsafe to fly. And if we stop, I'll call stop my controls, I'll close the thrust levers, disengage auto throttle, apply maximum braking or verify the auto brake working. I'll raise the speed brake lever, apply reverse thrust, stop the aircraft.
When you call stop, I verify thrust levers are closed, auto throttle is disengaged. I will call speed brakes up or speed brake is not up. Verify auto brake is an RTO or max manual braking is applied. I will call reverser with the status 80 knots, 60 knots and ATC.
When the airplane has come to a stop, I will slow the reverser, slow the speed brake, and we will identify the problem. And any required memory items will be completed on my command.
I will assist identifying the problem and accomplish memory items on your command.
Before start checklists.
Flight deck door.
Closed and locked.
Doors and windows.
Closed locked.
Closed locked. Anti-collision light is on. Transponder is set. Rudder and trim.
3 and 0.
Before start checklist complete.
And advises when you can start engines.
Yeah, so you may already start 2 and 1 in sequence.
Starting engines 2 and 1. Start engine number 2. Departed 7 minutes early. That's a good start.
Start cadets.
Start number 1.
Clear 4.
Starting 1.
Start cadets.
We have 2 good engine starts. You can disconnect outside of the pin, and thank you very much for the help. Have a great day. And do the before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist, generators are on, propane is on, anti-ice is off, air conditioning pressurization, packs auto, isolation valve auto, engine start switches, continuous recall.
Checked.
Checked, and start levers.
Pilot tents.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Clear, flaps.
5 planned, 5 green lights.
And APU is off before taxi checklist complete.
Request taxi.
Nordic A2 Golf Echo, request taxi please.
Nordic A2 Golf Echo, taxi Delta Papa Tango, holding point runway 19 left.
Delta Papa Tango, holding point 19 left, Nordic. A2 Golf Echo.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Left turn onto Delta then.
Nordic A2 Golf Echo, you can have away to runway 19 left, and departure in a couple of minutes.
Right, wait 19 left, okay, A2 Golf Echo.
Line up and wait, and we got cabin ready.
It is.
So we can do the before takeoff checklist. We have runway 19 left, Bravo 8 confirm.
Confirmed.
Thank you. Let's switch on the weather radar.
I can take free. Before takeoff checklist, flaps.
5 planned, 5 green lights.
Stabilize trim.
5.7 units.
Cabin call.
Tower,
Give
good
it.
morning, level 260.
Thank you, left looks clear.
Right is clear.
260, good luck, wind 19018, runway 19 right, clear land. Clear land, 19 right, 260. Norgate to Golf Echo, wind is 190 at 10, runway 19 left, left takeoff.
19 left, good, takeoff, echo to Golf.
You ready, Hammer?
Ready?
Off we go.
My controls.
Your controls. Setting thrust. Thrust set. Eight knots.
Checked.
V1.
Rotate. Positive rate.
Sure. Speed intervention, select 220.
Speed 220 ascent.
Norgate to Golf Echo, identified, climb to flight level 210, free speed. You can expect base turn 5 miles before T-plan.
Systems are 1 Yankee Juliet.
There we go.
Engine is off.
Engine is coming off.
Cute. This is actually quite a nice feature we have, which is relatively new. How long did we have it now? A year or so?
A couple of years.
Couple of years. It updates the current winds. So here you see the level that's between brackets. That's the recommended flight level, and it actually says how much you save. So here it's to fly at the recommended level, we would save 61 kilos and 101
Norgate
seconds.
to Golf Echo, contact Sweden 12440, goodbye.
124405, goodbye, Nordic 82 Golf Echo. Sweden, good morning, Nordic 82 Golf Echo, flight level 208, climbing 310 inbound Oxford and requesting 350 for now.
God middag, Nordic 82 Golf Echo, Sweden, radar contact. Come to maintain flight level 350.
Climb flight level 350, Nordic 82 Golf Echo.
350.
Steady here as well, even though we're going up eventually.
3 times.
Checked.
RVSM check, flight level 284. No.
-10.
So the RVSM check is a check that to fly in RVSM airspace, which RVSM airspace is reduced vertical separation minima, which means aircraft can fly as close to each other as 1,000 feet above and below each other, but there are certain restrictions. So the aircraft needs to be certified to fly RVSM airspace, which all of our aircraft are, and the altimeters have to be precise enough. So before we entering RVSM airspace, we check if there are no big differences between our altitude indicators, which are spot on.
They're always quite spot on, but it's a good check to have in case something is wrong. I've never seen that.
I feel like aviation in general, it's a lot about always checking and always be sure and check, double check. We have things we do by memory, but then the essential safety stuff we always have to check by checklist. It's all about just to making extra sure that everything is extra safe. My mother used to be quite afraid of flying, and both of her kids, both me and my brother, became pilots, which she thought was a bit of a joke. But for her it actually really helped that when we were in training, my brother and I, we were able to explain a lot of things. Tell her, like, you know, everything that's important in the aircraft has a backup and another backup, which actually helped her a lot to feel much more safe. So I think, I often think knowledge is power, and people who are afraid of flying, it could help to understand flying better and just to know that there are so many safety systems we have so much training. It's really safe.
It's environmental friendly. We try to reduce our emissions and to reduce our carbon footprint when we fly. And as mentioned, the smart choice is to bring as little fuel as possible, but instead of putting all pilots up against each other and punishing the ones taking extra, we have instead been giving the tools we need to make smart choices and to bring the fuel we need and not much more, and that's very nice. No one will react if we bring extra fuel, but it's also something we try to reach after, to be smart in our choices. So we have this app, it's called Skybreathe. This one is individuals. I can see how much I've been saving and how much CO2 I've saved. And I can see my potential where I still have some work to do. On this exact flight we have today with Oslo to Kefalonia, we can see that there's a consume here of 500 kilos. It's usually not that much. This might be because there's a limited amount of flights down there, but this is what we take into account when we decide how much fuel to take. And we also saw here that there are statistics for taxi out departure, approach landing, and so on. And we saw that there's a chance of getting a hole in there, so we've added a few hundred kilos on the way down. So departing from Oslo, we had 12.6 tons of fuel. Also, when I am done flying, I can see all my flights here in this app, and I can improve my skill set and my techniques to save even more fuel. So if I look here at the last flight I did from Amsterdam to Oslo, I can see where I did good and where I have still some potential. And in the different phases of flight where I used fuel and how much. And here I can compare myself to the average, the standard. So in some parts of the flight I did good, and in some parts I still can improve. I think Oslo-Bergen was the first flight this company made, wasn't it?
Yeah.
1st of September 2002. So this year we're actually celebrating our 20th anniversary with a lot of events and good deals and celebrations.
It's our birthday.
I think Just Planes has been with us 7 or 8 times earlier before this one. We now have 70 aircrafts, some 737 NGs like this one and some 737 MAX 8s, and we just signed a deal with Boeing to purchase 50 new MAX aircraft. So we'll slowly change out these older ones and expand the fleet a bit as well. I think the optimum now for our organization is to run 90 to 100 aircraft.
So here we have the Jeppesen plates we use. This is actually our route, which is nice today that you see all these green like little arrows. These are all airports, and green means good weather. So there's not much we have to think about there. Here are also our departure plates. So this is, I'll first show, this is the taxi plate. And what's nice, we have a so-called moving map. So on the ground you can actually see the GPS. So it actually follows where you are, which, like in Oslo, we don't need it.
1000 level.
Vertical speeds. In Oslo, we don't really need it because we know the airport well and it's not that complicated. But when you go to airports like Charles de Gaulle or Amsterdam, it's really nice to have the moving map. Shall we ask for descents?
Yep.
2 Golf Echo, stand by for descent.
Nordic 82 Golf Echo, descent flight level 150.
Descent flight 150, Nordic 82 Golf Echo.
Correction, expect Asus 1 Papa arrival.
Expecting Asus 1 Papa arrival, Nordic 82 Golf Echo.
150 is checked and as briefed.
Because there might be due to the terrain, there is a tendency of turbulence, so then it's easier to have flaps 30, and for the landing distance it didn't really make a difference anyway.
Yeah.
So I set flaps 30, standard wind correction, outbrake max, and second attempt reverse.
Yeah.
And I will disengage the outer braking on landing.
Yeah, it'll be hard automatic braking, but just disconnect it when you have control, and keep in mind that we'll be rolling to the end anyway.
Yeah. In case of missed approach, you can check the box.
Yep.
Turn left, max 185 knots, onto track 188. Then incept the follow radial 233. At 25 miles, turn right and enter holding, climbing to 6,000 feet.
Okay, the holding is in the box. Cabin crew, please be seated for landing.
2,500.
RLI 1014.
1014.
Landing checklist. Cabin call.
Given.
Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Speed brake.
Arms.
Landing gear.
Connect full
Hold on,
Romeo
flaps.
Victor, push and start approved facing
Flaps
north,
15 cents.
1014.
Checks.
$1,000.
Checks. Checks.
500. 400. 300. 200.
Visual aiming.
Checked.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Speed brake is up. 2 reversers.
Engaging.
Quarter brake disarm. 100 knots. I have to do wide turns here because of the hot asphalt. At the end of last month they started their summer procedure with wide turns only on the turn pad in the end.
Oh yeah. Welcome to Greece. Normally both the captain and the first officers take turns flying. And as I flew the first flight, he will fly back, which means I will do the walk around here. So yeah, we can just get started. So we always check our wheels, see if there are no spots. See that this one is still in place. You can see it with the with a little rope. That's still in the straight line. That's good. We check if not the alpha vanes and the pitot coffers, if they are open and not blocked, which if they were blocked we already would have noticed on the flight down, but we still always check it. You can see we have 2 pitot loops on the left side and 1 on the right, so we just check if they're not blocked by anything. These are the stubbers. They will stop the nose wheel from turning, so just check if they are there. And it's more like a general check. See if there are no leakings, nothing out of the order. Like everything looks good today. So the engines are always a good one to check. Often when there's a bird strike, the birds get sucked into the engine. So this is a place where you would often see them. So you can give them a little twist, so you can see inside that everything is clean. And just have a quick look if everything is clean. There are a lot of little entry doors. Like this is for the engine oil, so that's also always one to check, because if the engine oil is, if we get uplifted new engine oil, they would use this door. These are our position indicators. All aircraft and also all boat actually have them. So the right side is always green and the left side is always red. So when you're in the air in the dark, you know which way an aircraft is going. It's a little bit of an old tradition in the industry to give the wheels a kick. It is probably not necessary at all anymore, but it's still nice to do it. Looks good to me. those are the brake pins. So we just want them to stick out. And here is we need to see the silver that is not too suppressed. And the wheels look good. This thing is against the tail strikes. The 737 actually has quite a short limit. When we take off normal rotation, we only have about, out of my top of my head, about 30 centimeters between the tail and the ground, which is not that much. So this thing actually protects us in case we hit the ground. This thing will hit it first, so we don't hurt the aircraft, but just this thing. And the thing we check, do we have the green indication? So you know it's not, if it's pressed in, then you don't see the green indication. And just check if this lower bit, if it's clean without any damage, then we know we didn't have a tail strike. So that was our walk around. It's nice to be able to do it on a sunny day. And I think Lars is preparing the cockpit now for our return flight.
Yes. You ready, Amber?
Ready.
Off we go. Setting thrust.
Thrust set.
V1.
Rotates. Push the right.
Gear up. Flaps 5 please.
Check Nordic 3 Echo Golf, faster in 4000, contact the approach. 120.650. Bye-bye. 120.650, Nordic 3 Echo Golf, good day.
Flaps 1.
Speed checks.
Approach, good afternoon, Nordic 3 Echo Golf, Route 1 single departure, passing 1700, climbing flight level 100.
Flaps up.
Speed checks.
So,
I think my story is quite untraditional, how I started flying, because many pilots always dreamt about becoming a pilot, and that's not the same for me. I didn't know what I wanted to be for a long time, and I actually blame my brother for becoming a pilot. He always knew he wanted to be a pilot. And after high school, I was just working in a bar and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I saw a lot of classmates, they started university and they would quit again. And I was like, well, that's a waste of time. So I decided to just work and travel a little bit, enjoy life and think about what to do. We call those gap years, at least in the Netherlands, so I think it's the same in English. And in the beginning my parents were very supportive until I started my third gap year, and then they were getting a little bit worried, including my brother. So he came to me one day and he was like saying, okay Amber, we have to find you something to do. So he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I don't know, there's just so much to do and I don't think if there's anything I like enough. So he's like, okay, what do you want in your life? What don't you want in your life? So I was like, well, I don't want to have a 9-to-5 job. I don't want to be stuck in an office. I don't want to be restricted to work in the Netherlands, etc. So then he said, well, maybe becoming a pilot would be something for you also. So we started to do research together. We visited all the flight schools in the Netherlands, so the open days. We have a neighbor who lives a couple of streets away, who always been a pilot for KLM. So we didn't know him, we just knew of him. We come from a very small village, so everybody knows each other a little bit. So one day we just knocked on his door and said like, okay, we are both thinking about becoming a pilot. Could you answer some questions? Which I actually really recommend for people who are considering becoming a pilot to speak to actual pilots, because it's not like the Pan Am TV show anymore. It is a different lifestyle, so it's good to talk to people who are actually in the business. So yeah, after the research, I was convinced to become a pilot. But actually, my passion for flying didn't come until I actually started flying. For me, it was more like, okay, I can't think of anything else to do, so this is probably the best option. And not until I actually started flying in flight school, I was like, wow, this is really it. And now I really love the job. I can't see myself doing something else anytime soon. Norwegian and this aircraft is actually my first job after flight school. It took about a year to find this job, and I started in the end of 2016. First the type rating in Berlin, and then I started with the line training in Oslo, and I'm actually really happy here. We have a really good roster. I think there's a really good atmosphere in Norwegian. It's quite down to earth, and the hierarchy within, I think that's like typical for Scandinavia in general, that the hierarchy is quite flat, which is nice. And the biggest thing is actually that I personally think, from my experience, that Norway is the most beautiful country in the world. So to be able to do visual flying between the fjords is, for me, it's the best. So I'm really happy here. So it's my first airline and hopefully also my last. Everything.
So my story is actually very different from Amber's story. First of all, flying has been my biggest dream for as long as I can remember. From when I was just a little kid, I was planning on becoming a pilot or a diver. I realized that pilot was much cooler education and occupation, so I ended up flying after a couple of detours with education. I ended up looking for flight school, and just by chance, a good friend of mine, Chris, he advised me to look up Lund University in Sweden, because that was a government-funded school, so it's a free flight school. I applied there and got in, so I attended that school, was there for a couple of years and got all my certificates and courses for free. I would very much like to promote that school, because a lot of people don't know that that's an option. I know about Lund University, and you also have Tromsø University up in northern Norway, probably more schools around Europe. You really don't have to be from a privileged background to become a pilot. You could take things one step at a time. You don't really need contacts to get a job, and in my case, you don't have to use a lot of money either. What I did, I studied in Sweden, and after that I got a job in Air Baltic, and that was actually quite a nice experience and a great job. At that time it was quite hard to get jobs, so Air Baltic was basically the best first job I could dream of getting. And the operation there is quite unique. They fly eastbound to Kazakhstan, around Russia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Georgia, and they connect that eastern part of the world to Western Europe with the big capitals. So you get to see both parts, and you have a lot of interesting flying. After a while there, I got a job here in Norwegian in 2009, and I've been here since, so roughly 13 years. I've been a captain since 2014, and hopefully I'll stay here for the rest of my career.
Motor information echo 1450. Expect RMP approach. Runway use 25. Transition level 8. Wind 260 degrees 1. Now visibility 10 kilometers or more.
Good afternoon, Nordic 8 Delta Tango on the RMP for 25.
Pretty good, Delta Tango Molde. Good afternoon, Roger 25 and use QNH 1008.
QNH 1008, Nordic 8 Delta Tango. Is he gonna land on 25 also?
Probably after us.
And those 5 cents.
Unless, I guess it'll tell us.
Lima Alpha, Foxtrot traffic, Boeing Center 7, establish runway 25, report intention. looking for traffic.
Setting minimum. Still gonna pass.
Approaching minimums.
Checked. $500. $400. $300. $200. $100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brakes up. 2 reverses. Idle.
Welcome to Molde. The weather was actually quite nice. We got much better view than we expected, and despite there was this other small aircraft, we were here by ourselves. He waited for us, went into holding, and let us land first.
Because it's a special no controlled I lost the word now.
AFIS Airport.
AFIS Airport. We don't get a clearance until we're taxiing out, but I'm expecting the Bamfa 1 Bravo departure, which is at plate 10-3 Bravo. But I'm actually gonna ask for a official climb out. That makes it just we can make a little bit of a shorter turn, and it's just a lot more fun to do. I will also go without flight directors, flight raw data, because yeah, we are allowed to do it, and I think it's really good practice to keep on your hand flying skills and actually have to think about it instead of just following the magenta cross. Like, our generation is often called children of the magenta, but I can try to prove it wrong sometimes.
Just set.
V1.
Rotate. Positive it.
You're up. Speed, turning. Bug up.
Set.
Okay, flaps 5.
Speed checked.
And Nordic 49, contact med approach, 119, decimal 35, so long.
935, long Nordic 49.
Flaps 5 set.
Flaps 1.
Speed checked.
Møre, godt drag Nordic 429, passing 2,500 feet, climbing 9,000 inbound Bamma.
$100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Speed break up. 2 reversers. Idle. 100 knots.
I'll aim for Alpha 5.
80 knots. Welcome back to Oslo. I hope that you have enjoyed these couple of days with us and that you have gotten some insight into how we fly and operate our airplanes. On behalf of the whole company, I would like to visit you, welcome you on board anytime you want to fly with us, and I hope you see all of you here with us in Norwegian.
I actually have nothing to add. I was just thinking, but I just thank you very much for joining us. I hope you had a great time, and that we see you again someday, either as a passenger or a future colleague. We are continuing to Tromsø now, so yeah, we say goodbye and prepare for our next flight. Thank you very much.